Okay, very good. Anyway, as you probably know, that currently we have designed it for 80 units of mini storage. We've had certain complaints from some of the residents regarding security. They're concerned about people outside the subdivision coming in for storage. And secondly, we have had no real interest in the storage units. As a consequence, we felt that probably since this is providing a great service for the community. We have a lot of young couples, a lot of young professionals, and it's really, I think, wonderful for us as well as the community in bringing young people back into the community, which is something that most uh, cities and townships desire in light of the fact that there's been an aging population and to create a situation that's desirable for people to live. It's a very affordable housing, and as you've seen the project, hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. It really looks very, very nice, and I think that adding 28 more units will be helpful, obviously, to all of us, and it'd be a better use of the property than the mini storage.
Okay. Rich, do you have some input here?
Guys, I think it's a great idea. Things are going really well over at Riverwood. This project has moved along just as it was committed to be doing, and they're nearing the end. From Joe's interaction with the current residents, I think he's being responsive to his clientele in there, and of course Stan and Ryan are apparently doing a good job of building, and it turned out to be a very popular spot. That's it.
Okay. So I've seen it from the freeway every day, and I've driven back in there a number of times. It's really taken off lately, it seems. And now driving past it, you can see them all along the freeway and how they want to go back. So it's interesting. Gabe, Josh, do you guys have any thoughts?
Sounds good to me. Huh?
I mean, yeah, nothing, no big thoughts. I mean, I know there is a small playground. Can you guys hear me?
We can't.
We can hear you.
Sorry, so I know there is a small playground, you know, that's in place for the residents there. You know, it is a nice little community. I'm just trying to think, is there any other amenities that can be provided to them? Was there a dog park on the site plan at one point, or any?
Actually, there was none, but some of the residents asked for a dog park, so we installed one.
Okay, so I wonder if I was out there, maybe saw it, or okay. I was just trying to think of what.
Wasn't there a walking path on that thing at some point?
There was, but I think that all went away.
That all went away with when we did the
They're the
last
ones
thing.
got to sell them.
There is just there's a lot of
Private development. They're the ones that got to sell them.
a lot of
Not our-
homes packed
you
in
know.
there, so any outdoor recreation space that's available, you know, makes it a nicer area. So overall, I don't have a problem with replacing the storage units with the attached single-family homes, like the rest of the neighborhood. Especially if you mentioned you've talked to residents, there is no interest in the storage units. I think the hope was that residents living there would actually utilize the storage units as opposed to someone from outside of that neighborhood, because I don't think anybody would want want random people driving through the neighborhood to access a storage building. So
I never liked the storage building.
Yeah, I never liked it anyhow, so I'm glad it's
better,
out.
It's better from I never liked it in the first place for the exact reason Josh said. So I'm better off with I like it better with you putting more houses in.
you know, my only thought is if there's any space that isn't a wetland that is available that could be cleared, leveled, and then maintained, that the families, the children, if they wanted to play a kickball game, if they wanted an outside recreation space, if there was space available, it'd be a nice addition. I don't know what sort of restrictions on land you have and wetlands, but Is something like that possible?
Well, we looked into that, but I don't know if you recall, out of about 33 acres, only about 13 acres are not wetlands. The rest of the property is wetlands, and we cannot intrude into that. That'll be in violation of the Corps of Engineers permit.
Tell me, yes to move on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just near that cul-de-sac, if there was any space available. If there is no space, I understand that, and yeah, nothing else from me.
All right, so what do you need from us? Just to go ahead? Is that where we're at? Mike, what needs to happen?
Rich, what needs to happen?
Richard, what needs to happen here? What do you need from us?
We have to amend the consent decree. I did provide a copy, I think, to Jeremy and Jason of the proposed modification to the consent decree. This would be the second amendment to the consent decree. I think I provided a copy of the first amendment also. So all we have to do is have clearance from legal that everything looks good. You know, from their standpoint, everything is pretty straightforward in this consent decree. I just haven't had an opinion yet from legal counsel, our legal counsel. And then the decision is up to the trustees whether to proceed by amending the consent decree, and that's all it takes.
Yeah.
All right. So we're good. Move on. Yeah, we're good. All right, we'll get that taken care of, gentlemen. We'll work. You're good to go. We'll proceed with that, and get everything set up, ready to go.
Well,
Thank you very much. We're really excited to be able to do this. So I
Just
appreciate
make sure first game of kickball, you invite Josh.
very good. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks. Same to you. Your family.
Swamp ball.
All right, so we're gonna.
There's a lot of houses.
So Jeremy,
Yeah.
Jason. So I guess with the consent decree, you guys have to look it over, work your magic, and then we have to.
We'll review it, let you know if there's anything that we need to get in there that's not, then you guys can approve it.
Will that be for next meeting, you think? Is that enough time, or will it happen after that?
Yeah, no, we can do it for next meeting.
So that'll be the first meeting in January. Okay.
Yep.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you. What do we got? What's next?
The next is at this meeting, the trustees approved the schedule for the holidays next year, the township holidays, and the special events. All the special events we kind of assigned to a particular third Saturday of the month or something. We've not done that with movie night. So we need to pick a day that we would like to host that movie night in July, next summer. That's the only question. Then on your public meeting agenda, there'll be a resolution to approve holidays and special event dates.
Do you remember when we held it in 19? The movie? It was in July, right? I'll see if it's,
Yes, it was in July.
see if it's in my calendar.
And do we need to, because I know we need to set the holidays. I mean, the holidays are the holidays, but we need to set those dates as a resolution. Do we need a resolution for the other events?
I don't know if we, I don't know.
I guess my
We
only,
always have, so.
Yeah, we
Okay.
always have, I think.
my only thought was, if we do that, if we ever were to revise the date for some reason, then we have to go ahead and do a new resolution to revise the date. So I guess my thought would be to set the holidays as the resolution and then just informally set the events.
No, we'd have to change the agenda. So I think the agenda will say holidays and special events. And I need the date soon because I need to, reserve it with the History Center.
Oh, yeah, understand that. And
You approve it today and then just change it.
yeah, my thought was why even approve it as a resolution that we would have to set another resolution to change it later. Just
Do we do it on a Saturday or what do we do?
We always do it on a Saturday night.
The movie
at
night
dusk.
was?
Movie night was on a Saturday at dusk.
That'd be my thought. We pass a resolution approving the holidays and the other dates.
Why didn't we always pick them at least.
Right, but my thought is we probably don't need to put it in the resolution.
I don't have it in my calendar, but.
I don't have it on my calendar either, but we have.
Party in the park, right? Which is
July 20th-ish.
this year. It's always the 3rd, but they don't like to go too late. They've been changing it since. So it'll be the 3rd Saturday. So it'll be Saturday the 18th is when they'll have it. So we should go the 25th. But I won't be here the 25th. Wait, yes, I will. I won't be here the August 1st. So 25th, I'll be here. You want to do it that day, Mike?
Saturday, July 25th.
Oh, is it? The fair's that week? They did. So we can go the 11th.
Is it dark enough? How late is it, you know?
Yeah, you're only talking 2 weeks difference. I think it's, Chuck proved me wrong that it was dark enough, so I think we're good.
I'm okay with July
If you threw
11th.
under the bus or agree with
Again,
me, I'm
I
not sure
agree with
which.
you. I didn't think it would be dark enough, and it turned out it was dark enough.
I'm waiting to figure that one out.
But I still think we should revise the resolution to just say setting the holiday.
Oh, and then, wait, back up to March. Oh, I'm looking at 2020. Let me get to 2021. Why am I still on this? Okay. So March 16th is St. Patrick's Day. So parade the 14th.
Let's see, I got the dates.
Is that in the?
The
I'm just looking at the calendar.
parade is Saturday, March 14th.
Okay, Sunday, you mean?
Or Sunday, I'm sorry, Sunday, March
Yeah,
14th.
Okay. Movie night should, okay, so Party in the Park will be 16, 17, 18, so we should either have it the 10th or the 31st, I would think, if you're saying we want to interfere with the fair. So it would be July 10th or oh wait, it's the last week or the 3rd week? So that's the 31st, so it could be the 24th then. Because that's the last week of July last week of July is Saturday, the July 31st. Let me see if they may not put it on there yet, but let me look online. All right, they didn't put it up yet. So if it is the last week of July, then that will be the 29th through the 31st. Well, they usually start at what, Tuesday? So 27th through the August 1st.
Is it 24th?
That's what I'm saying. 24th's open then. Do it the 24th. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
July 24th?
Yep.
Okay.
Family Fun Day. What'd you have, Mike?
Family Fun Day is always, oops, I'm wrong. August 28th. It's always the fourth Saturday.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Then what else we have?
Document Shredding Day is September 18th.
Okay.
Residential leaf pickup and Christmas tree pickup and that. I've got them in here. I don't.
Yeah, we'll coordinate. That's Bill.
Bill sets that schedule.
Yeah.
I'm just relaying it to you. The children's Christmas party would be Saturday, December 11th.
Okay. Sounds good.
Does anybody feel strongly about putting these special event dates in the resolution? Or is there any good reason to include them in there?
No.
They don't have to be. Why do it?
That was my thought. So let's just do the holidays that we probably have to do.
Correct.
Their days off. And then we can have a special event calendar that.
Okay.
What resolution number was that, Mike? Do you know?
Oh, I'm looking for it.
Okay, there are so many of them. Chuck. Or, I guess it, you can probably have Karen revise.
Yeah, she's already revising something because the numbers are not right now.
Okay, so she is getting 1 through,
What do you want her to do?
or now it's 1 through 4.
Approving the holidays.
They're not on there. That's why you-
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the Yeah, it's item number 4. They got renumbered because we had so many and I was copying and pasting, but the 4th resolution is a need a motion to approving township holidays.
Oh, it is just holidays.
So it is right. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
it's like,
She's changing them now because of
Okay.
corporation.
I thought I made a mistake once, but I was wrong. I didn't. So.
Corporation resolution total.
I got that.
Nobody?
Good to go.
You're the only one? The next thing, remember that at 9:30 we have Eric Williams, who is representing the guy who wants to get a similar use petition at 1650. Just so you know, at 9:30 we're going to admit him. The other thing I have, Mr. Chairman, would be at the last week we decided, well, we should invite the union leadership over and have a discussion. Have them stop over at the next meeting. I sat down yesterday to invite Kevin, and I didn't know how to write the email. I didn't know what I wanted to say because it's not a negotiation. It's not the labor management committee. So I'm looking for, is this going to be an executive session or is this?
It's executive session because it's a discussion.
Collective bargaining unit.
Yeah, with the collective bargaining unit.
And that's fine. We didn't talk about that last time, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I would say you could still call it collective bargaining so that you can go into executive session.
And I would just say that trustees would just like to ask you to come over. They would want to discuss a couple things. Simple enough.
He'll ask me what?
Just general topics. There's no decisions are being made. Nothing pressing. They just want to have a conversation about
Okay.
Is
collective bargaining
Jeremy
unit.
involved in this?
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
let them know
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
so they know what they're walking into.
Yeah, you don't want their antennas to go up because there's a lawyer.
Yeah, so if that's an issue though,
Do we need him there? I thought
you know, we don't need, so if that's an issue, then we don't need him there. I mean, we don't have to have you there.
If they prefer to have it without me, then I would say go ahead and have it without me.
I think based, with all due respect to Jeremy, but with the topic of discussion and what we're planning to talk about for comfort level and need of him, we don't need him, and I think it'll put them at ease. We can just
Yeah, leave
omit
it-
him from the
Leave it
conversation.
Kevin's choice, and he'll say he doesn't want him there, and then he gets to choose that.
Yeah, let him do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Because if he wants him there, if he wants to discuss something with him, then that would be an opportunity. But you good? I think that's good. You don't think?
I just think if they walk in, we got him sitting up on the screen. it's
No,
gonna-
I'll ask him ahead of time.
Oh, okay, I see
I'll
what
ask
you
him
mean.
when I
I think
invite
that
him.
when he was here, ask
No,
him and then tell him to
No,
go.
I agree. That would be worse.
Yeah, I was going to say, put that in the email. Say we can have Jimmy there if you'd like, but he doesn't need to be.
Trustees want to, yeah, I would say what they need to discuss doesn't require an attorney, but if you want them there, you know.
And we don't anticipate anything, like, we're not going to ask them to go back to the
No.
union and ask. I mean, this is just a,
I thought it was just try to open up the
Yeah,
communication.
yeah,
a little
it
bit
is.
Right.
and
Yeah,
get
it
over
is.
the frustration with both
Yes.
sides.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an
Got it.
open dialogue.
Okay.
All right, so we have 7 minutes before we have a guest. Mike, what do you have next?
That's what I have, Mr. Chairman.
like, you had meeting dates for 2021.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
shoot.
My thought is we talk about that next meeting,
Um,
or is it too late?
well, we can do that then. Yeah. I just had to think about it. If you want to do it the next meeting, I just need to know, on our routine schedule of trustee meetings, are there any that you know you're not going to be here for, so we need to schedule it differently? There's a little bit of setup work in the calendar, in the
I do it
website to have it on the
myself.
calendar and all that. So
Yes, I will not be here.
you want to do that at the next meeting, Josh?
Oh,
Josh,
Yeah,
is-
I
that'd
won't
be
be
my
here for
thought.
January 2nd. That's January.
Did you grab my
Oh, yes, I
cell
will. It's 5th,
I do not.
12th, and 19th. I'll be here. Never mind. I'm leaving the
Okay,
21st.
we'll put it on the
so-
next
Yeah,
agenda.
I'd like to print out a yearly calendar and take a look at the dates, and,
Okay.
because then we always look around election day, we look at, where the 4th of July, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that.
Mhm.
July's on a Sunday. Sweet.
That's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Anything else we can, I mean, 5, 8 minutes. We want to talk about zoning before, we got a call with them? It might not be a bad idea.
Harley, do you have anything you want to comment on about the application at 1650 Minor Avenue before Eric gets on?
No. Unless,
I'm just gonna hear them out and then absorb it all and think about it later, you know?
No decision being made. We're
No
just
decision
hearing
being
them,
made. His attorney, if you didn't see it in your reports, submitted his 70-page application for a similar use permit. I would encourage you to read the first 2 pages. He presents it like a legal brief. But he puts some information in there that you really should know about, be aware of, as you're considering the decision, not necessarily prior to, but
What's it under, Mike? Is it under your report or
Harley.
it's under Harley?
So, Mike, I know they
I don't
asked,
have it. I'm sorry, I have a Word file. It says notes to similar use. Is that it? Or is there another file? So I didn't see what you're referring to.
I saw it in there.
Unless it, you know, I've downloaded Saturday. Did you put it up since then?
yeah, it was in the
Previous meetings.
folder, and I added it to this one, but it was prior to.
So look at last.
Friday.
Okay, so go to the 1st, December 1st.
Yeah, it'll be-
Mike, you indicated
Similar
they
use
did a
petition.
public information request.
yes, we did. Some time ago, a couple months ago, but his attorney requested every document we had for the history of that property.
Okay, and does he have that already?
Yes.
Did he get that as a PDF or how did you give him that information? Do you know?
It would have been a PDF. No, I copied, I gave him hard copies. Yeah, I
Okay.
gave him hard copies of
Okay.
everything. Which one of these are?
Under my.
Under her name.
Which one, Harley?
That one right there.
This is just his cover letter. The first 2 pages of this, I think, are instructive as to where he's coming from.
Well, we'll let him, I guess, explain where he's coming from. I mean,
Yeah, just wanted you to be aware.
but it helps that kind of slow play type thing.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you know, where, you know, tell us what you want to tell us, where you're coming from, what information. Do you keep a copy of the information you gave him? Okay. So, I mean, I can say that, you know, I understand that, you know, we provided several documents.
Hang on a second. Sean,
Did you get an email?
is Eric Walter online? Is Eric? Okay. Is there anybody else online?
You got
Thank you.
an invitation, so he should be requesting.
All right, so I'm good. We have a few minutes here. Jeremy, Jason, there's an MOU with the collective bargaining unit for health insurance. You want to advise us on that? I'm thinking this one should go rather quickly at this point. Am I?
Yeah, so I put that together based on the conversation we had last. So it does run through the rest of the contract, like we discussed. So if for some reason we want to change it from that next year, we'd have to discuss it with them again. But otherwise, basically just replace those 2 items, the HSA and the deductibles, with the new numbers that are in the insurance now. We would sign off on it. They would sign off on it. We already have an agreement in principle to do it. And there's some legalese in there and everything, but it's just pretty much covers what we discussed, runs through expiration of the contract. So if it stays the same again next year, we don't have to even discuss it with them. If we want to change again, we just got to remember to sit down and talk to them before we change it again. But if you guys have any specific questions, let me know.
Jeremy, that was sent in an email.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
There it is.
I sent it yesterday. You want me to shoot it to you again, Chuck?
I got it. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Make sure these guys are ready.
Thank you.
Eric is on the line if you're ready.
All right. So,
Got to admit him.
all right. So we have Eric Walter on the line. Hello, Mr. Walter. How are you? You're muted. Sir.
I am good.
Well, good. Welcome. Glad to have you take the time to meet with us.
Thank you.
If you would like to present your information to us so we can begin the processing stage or continue the processing stage.
Sure. And we put together a packet which we had hand delivered. I assume you have that in front of you, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. As we had a informal meeting, I don't remember when, but it was, as you're familiar with this site, it is, originally it was a parts store and then turned into kind of an automotive repair and parts store. And then our client purchased it on September 25th of 2008. And they've operated, it was Cleveland Motor Cars. It was more of a high-end car dealership and had operated for quite a while. And then, as you know, from what I stated last time we were together, they've had some tragedies in the family, which, again, that's not an excuse. I don't like excuses. It's an explanation. There were some severe things that happened, including the death of the patriarch of the family. But it's always been a pretty well-maintained, if not magnificently maintained property. It's a big piece of property. I don't know if anyone's been out there or been in the actual building, it has quite a depth to it. And what we've presented to you is one of the rationale going forward would be to file this petition for similar use. They still own the property. They have not changed ownership in the property. And one of the things that I attached to our brief and the numerous exhibits was a case out of Lake County, which was the Auto Supermarkets Inc. versus City of Willoughby case that I think is pretty on point. I know one of the concerns that was voiced in the last meeting that was held regarding another applicant, which is not part of this. This is my client, not anyone new. It's the same folks who owned it and operated the store. It's the Mobasari family, but the owner is Progressive Equity Investments LLC, which are the Mobasaris. The case that I cited basically said, as a rationale for denying something, it cannot be the fact that, and I'll quote, it says, cannot properly concern itself, meaning the board, with the question of whether the business use proposed by a landowner is needed in the area or is adequately supplied by existing businesses. And I think that's instructive here. That property has been a car, and when I say car dealership, it's not like classic down the street. It's a higher end vehicle showroom. They went online, they would find very good high end vehicles. It's not like Marshall Goldman, if you're familiar with that. Their vehicles are $100,000 to $4 million out in Cleveland. But this was a higher end, and they had a good business. They want to continue that business. And based upon, I don't want to keep the trustees long-winded, which attorneys typically are, but we want to keep it that use, allow them to get back in there. They're willing to comply with any recommendations or concerns that the trustees may have. And so based upon the information and evidence we submitted on November 17th, 2020, we would ask that the petition be granted and they allowed to reopen with any conditions that you may have. I do understand there was kind of an issue with notice and letters going out as to the conditional use dying, because it's my understanding they were 5 years. They were good for 5 years. Again, there's no excuse for that. We're not relying on the fact at this point that, well, you never notified them. Look, at the end of the day, they're responsible for knowing, and so we're not blaming anybody. This was just a sad circumstance. I don't think they've ever had any issues that I know of. I FOIA'd information. I have not come back with anything that shows they were ever a problem in the community. They were, kind of a staple over there. And so we would just ask that the petition be granted and they'd be allowed to reopen. And I would entertain any questions or concerns that the trustees have.
So the spot that your legal analysis shows up on, is that page 2, page 3? I see it's legal analysis, a big paragraph, zoning ordinance and amendment cannot be supported. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and I actually included that case in the packet that we submitted as Exhibit 5 for all of you.
All right, it's page 3 on the PDF. Okay. So the name of the business, is it still going to be Cleveland Motor Cars? I'm asking that so I know how to file this thing.
Yeah, it's again that's what I would tell them. I mean, that's what they've always operated as, and I would presume if that's a problem for anyone, yes, I would tell them, look, I've done this for 25 years, and I try to get along with zoning boards because you guys are slated with a task that, and in trustees and city council, you're slated with a task that, you know, it's a very hard chore. So yes, that would be the intention. If you want us to, get a different name, I could talk to them. But as it stands now, Cleveland Motor Cars is what it would be.
I was asking simply for the purpose of how to file this brief that you wrote up, that what you presented. That's all. That's my only concern on that. So I had a name to file it.
Okay.
So when you say it's a new car dealership, you said they're going to look online for vehicles. So what you're saying, they're going to purchase vehicles, put them in the showroom. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's what they've done in the past. And when I say new, I mean they're used cars. I don't believe they've ever dealt with new cars on that lot. They've always dealt with higher end used cars. And actually the original packet that they applied for when they originally started this is included in the exhibits, and it shows you kind of the price range of the vehicles. So they're used cars that they were purchasing.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to make it clear that Harley, we did serve notification prior to the last non-conforming use. Prior to the last non-conforming use, did we send notification to let them know that time was coming up? That 2-year window, just to make sure that they were notified ahead of time before that ran out. Did we send them correspondence to let them know that window was going to expire?
Yes. Actually, Rich sent a letter when it was after the conditional use permit had expired, sent him a notice saying the conditional use permit has expired. We're going to give you this opportunity to apply and you won't be penalized for the use continuing without a conditional use permit. And from my understanding, no one had even called Township Hall to notify of any situations that might be going on their end that would delay their submittal of a renewal.
Okay, I might want to tip the mic up just a little bit.
Sorry.
So when a conditional use permit typically expires, do we notify the property owner, or is it their job to know that it's expiring and come back to us?
It is the applicant's job to know, but as a courtesy, Rich sent out several letters to conditional use permit holders to inform them that their permit had either recently expired or is about to expire.
So, and this was somebody that we did do that courtesy to make sure that they were aware that was happening. Okay.
Yes.
And it was after it expired, but we said we're going to give you the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
May I say one comment to that?
Sure, please.
I've done in the past for one of our other clients, and I'm sure you're all familiar with. We had an issue out in the west side of Cleveland, and I became the contact person for the zoning department because similar things happen. There's, again, not an excuse. There's reasonable explanations as to why that went unheard. Kevin is now my contact, Mobasari, but if this were to go through, I would be more than willing to make sure that I would be the main contact so that nothing, again, the courtesy was well appreciated. It went to an address where somebody was no longer there, and there was some really traumatic things going on, which again is not an excuse. I'm just explaining. So what I've done in the past for certain clients that of our firm that don't typically respond to things, I've told the folks, notify me, and if they don't respond to me, then it's going to be a problem. So I'd be willing to do that in this case as well.
Yeah, I guess I was just, I guess I was asking for some clarification just from the standpoint of, with the expiration of the previous variance, that we did go above and beyond what's required, right, in notification and giving opportunity. And I was just trying to get that clarified for myself in my head of where we were. That we were as business friendly as we could in that situation. Thank you, Harley.
All right, Mr. Walter, I'm looking at on the PDF, and looks like there's an addition. So the existing building is 150 feet deep on one side by almost 75 about across. But in the very back, there's a 44 by 70 addition. Can you explain what's going on there, please?
I believe that was done by the prior owner. That I don't believe that was done by my clients. I believe the prior owners. Am I incorrect? If I may be incorrect, that's all inside where cars can be stored. It's basically, I think it was originally set up to be a service area, but they did not use it for service other than maybe changing tires out and things. But it was originally, the showroom was more in the front of the building, and that back piece of the building is where cars can be put in, maybe to do detailing and those types of things to get them out on the lot for viewing.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that was done prior to my clients purchasing the property.
Yeah, I guess, is there anything else, I guess, you'd want to share with us than what's in this document that we should be, for us to consider as we have discussions and decision on what direction to move?
No, I think that kind of sums up everything. I mean, it's been the same use for years. I understand there's some other smaller dealers down the road on that main corridor. So I think this is everything. There's not much when I FOIA'd the documentation. There really wasn't much in the file on this. So I would rely on what's in there.
And all right, so from a timeline standpoint, they bought the building September 25th, 2008. They operated the building till when? When did it go vacant? How long have they elapsed? Those are the dates I'm looking for. So I got to put a time on this.
I don't know the exact date that it went dark, so I apologize on that end. I believe it was a year and a half ago.
Harley, why don't you come to the microphone, Harley, please?
Yeah, Harley would know better.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the numbers in front of me. They are in my office, but perhaps Rich has them in front of him.
I do not.
All right. Well, it's not critical at this point. If you could just get the information, I'm just looking to have a timeline so I have all my information in front of me. So I know when the conditional use expired, how long it sat, when you sent that letter, and then that'll tell me where we're at today when they're reapplying.
I'll get
That's
that
what I'm
entire
looking for.
timeline for you.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it's May 2018.
What happened in May 2018?
I believe that's when the business ceased there.
All right. So we're now 2
But
years and 6 months, 7 months.
Basing that off of Progressive Equity Investments did file a variance application that they ultimately withdrew. And attached to that was a letter from Mr. Mosseri. It says we purchased the parcel back in 2008. Unfortunately, in May of 2018, we had to make a decision that was despairing. He goes on to talk about his father, but so I believe it was around that time that the business stopped there.
Okay. All right. Very good.
I still think it could be beneficial, Harley, if you could put together just a bullet point timeline like Chuck had mentioned.
I can do that.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else, anybody? Mr. Walter, do you have any closing comments?
I do not. I thank the board, the trustees for taking the time. It's, again, I guess I would say these folks have never had any issues with zoning. I think it's pretty apparent they've always complied. They may not be the best at responding back, although going through a death and some other traumatic incidents during that period, again, not an excuse, but it explains. And it's not just death, it's some other things one of the partners went through This family has been through its fair share, as obviously everyone, for the last 10 months, but for the last 2 years, they have sustained some horrific things. And again, not an excuse, but they have sustained some things that are life altering forever. So I guess that's one of the things I would like you to consider. Kevin is a reputable businessman, wants to get this back up and going, and hopefully be allowed to do that going forward.
I guess I have a question regarding that. You're mentioning the family and their standing and that type of thing, but the application we got was not for them to operate the car dealership. It was a completely different entity to operate the car dealership, not the people you're speaking about. Am I correct?
Yes, and that was before my being pulled into this, and I had a discussion, and when I talked to Haley, I recommended they pull that application from it, because one of the largest consternations of lawyers is that's why God made us, is to go through these things with you and properly document, which I guess, at the end of the day, people are free to choose. But when I had some discussions, I wanted to be clear, I do not represent the other party that was filing an application either. I represent the Mobasari family. And so that is correct. It was something different. That's when I said, pull it, let's approach it a different way. Right now your main concern is getting open, and that's what we want to do.
Well, I guess then, so a question I have is this just a end around that you're attempting to take in order to get this approved, and then somebody will come in and operate after you try to get our approval for it based on the application that was, based on what sounds like you're saying is that pull that guy off of it so I can get it approved, and then you guys can get it open, and then that guy can go and operate it. Is that what's?
I want it to be clear, in my 25 years in the 3 states that I practice and the judge that I worked for in Michigan for 2.5 years, I don't end around. So I guess I take a little bit of issue with a standpoint of accusing me of doing an end around. No, it's to get this back open to the family who wants to get it back open.
Yeah, I understand that, but my point is the application to open it wasn't the family. The family just wants to rent the building. The application was the family wants to rent their building. This other gentleman wants to operate a car dealership. You just stated that take him off so we can get it open. So it was not an insult. It was more of a fact that the original application was a 2-part. The family wanted to rent their building. This gentleman wanted to operate. You just stated that you told them to pull his name off of it so we could get it open. I'm using your words. Get rid of him so you guys can get it open. But is this gentleman going to have involvement, since that was the original application that was submitted to us?
As I stand here now, no. It's my understanding it's the Mobasari family. Without going into what I discussed with clients, which I'm not ethically allowed to do, I can say that I represent the Mobasari family. I will let you folks kind of make the bridge go between the two as to why he pulled, and I represent them. This is what they told me they want to do. There may have been an idea at one point to sell, to rent, to do something. Right now, what they want to do is get the business back and functional in the Mobasari name. I have not advised anyone to end around anything or use this as a cutesy toy to play games with the trustees. You can ask anyone about my reputation. That's not how I practice law. And I guess I take a little issue because I get a little finicky with that. Let me finish. For 25 years, I don't play those games. Even with another large client in this community in Lake County, I didn't play those games. So no, it's not my consternation, not with you, but my practice doesn't operate that way.
I get it. I'm just saying that you specifically said I told them to take that guy off so we could get it open. So my question is what involvement is that guy going to have? It sounded like you told them essentially, this guy seems to be an issue. Let's get him out of the way so we can get it open. But this person has been involved from the beginning with this. So I think it's, our responsibility and our right to find out what involvement he's going to have, because that was part of the original application. And the way he stated was get rid of him so we can get him off of it rather, so we can get it open. But then that still leaves a question to us, is where this guy stands, since he was part of the initial reason that they were coming for that application.
Well, I believe that my document that says, if I'm not disclosing anything I've told my clients. I don't want to get into that bailiwick with my clients, but it's a petition for similar use. We want to go back to what we were allowed to do. That did not involve selling new cars. So again, I will allow you to take point A and point B and draw a line between those. My clients have never sold new cars. You've changed the statute, and they want to be able to go back to doing what they were doing, which does not involve the sale of new cars.
Actually, Mr. Walter, I want to make something clear. The initial conditional use permit that was issued to them was issued in error on behalf of zoning staff at that time. It was not a legal use at the time that their business was established. So the extension of the conditional use permit, continuing it, was an even greater an invitation of kindness, I guess, on behalf of the township's part, because the business was established illegally at the time the Mobasaris purchased the property. Just to make that clear, it was never a legal use.
All right.
My point is they've never sold new cars out of that.
All right, I think we're good. So I think
the gentleman's trying to do.
so. Yeah. So
Well, I mean, by all means, just so you know, the guy that was applying wasn't going to sell new cars either. He had no new car. He had no new car agreement with any manufacturer, nor did he hold a new car license. So nobody applying at that time was going to sell new cars either. They may have put it on the application, but they weren't going to do that anyways because they did not have any of the proper documents or licenses to do so. So even though they said that, they weren't going to sell new cars either because that was not part of the application, nor could they provide any of the required documentation to show that they were going to sell new cars. So nobody from the beginning was actually going to sell new cars. They may have stated it, but nothing that was provided to us proves that they could even do that in the state of Ohio.
all right, I think we're good. Are we good? I think, Mr. Walter, I appreciate you taking the time to present on your client's behalf. I think we've heard what we needed to hear. Is there any final words? I'll leave it to you for last word, and then we're going to close this session.
I just, again, I'm not upset with the board. I just, the fact is, I can't, because I'm bound by ethical canons as to what I can and cannot say. I represent the Mobasari family, and I've reviewed the zoning code, our application, and I believe certain ones were withdrawn after I was retained on this matter. My representation is to get the Mobasari family up and running as they were, because this building right now has no use that they are experiencing in. They want to be able to do what they were doing. So I close with that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you. What will be the next step?
Well, we have to, I think we need to sit on it. We'll get together and discuss it, and then somebody will be in contact with you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Be safe.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Eric.
And 2020 has got to be better than this year.
Right?
You need it. I'm telling you.
Right. Okay. I'm going to move on to another report. We'll come back to zoning after. I'd like to go to Service Director, Mr. Thompson. Going to give you the mic to present first today.
Josh, are you pull Vassar Drive up?
Oh, yeah, no, I can get it.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to discuss is a resident bought the property at the end of Vassar Drive down in Heatherstone. That is a dead-end street. There are no addresses. There are no driveways currently on Vassar. He was going to build a house on the property, and he's got to do something with the dead end. So through the Lake County Planning Commission with Dave Verdacci has given him 8 or 9 different options that he could do to give us the opportunity to be able to turn our vehicles around, both fire and service department vehicles. I spoke with the person that's buying the property, and we talked about what the different options are. I am comfortable with a 60-foot cul-de-sac. That is not a typical cul-de-sac. It's not the normal size, but by putting a 60-foot cul-de-sac in, he will be able to stay within the right-of-way, and he will not need to get any easements from the homeowners association or purchase any property from them.
So that's option 9 on the diagram, it looks like. So a 60-foot cul-de-sac, is that similar, trying to visualize this, would that be similar to what they have on Virginia, I believe it is?
That would be close, Virginia, maybe Dunbar. I mean, it's going to be
Oh,
small.
Dunbar as well? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a small cul-de-sac, but it's going to allow us to take the snow and push it from one side to another and still, we might have to back up once or twice to get turned around, but that's better than backing up the entire length of the street. The hammerhead option would also work for us, but then it doesn't really give us a place to push the snow. And that's our biggest issue is we don't want to have to leave the snow in the end of his driveway, but we don't want to have to drag it all the way down to the intersection also.
So then looking at, Josh, can you put that up on the screen?
So just, this is the property right there.
Okay.
It is that, they have access out to Riverside Drive here as well.
Isn't that a hill, huge hill though?
It is.
Yes,
Driveway there.
his driveway would be a hill.
It'd be a monster of a hill.
Yes.
Josh, can you go to, I think it's the last one, number 9?
So where's he going to put his house?
He's going to, I think there's like 13 acres.
Right
back
there.
Oh, so he's going on the big lot behind it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So actually, I know this person and I spoke with them about this, and what he told me was, so this is what he's proposing, or this is the option that
Yeah,
Bill is saying.
this is option 9, yes.
Okay.
I am going to recommend, I know on option 9 said that it could be a 60-foot cul-de-sac with gravel wings. I'm going to recommend, no, it's got to be paved.
It's got to be paved?
Yes,
Who pays for this?
he does, the homeowner.
So all right, well then, so if he has to pay for this, and it's on the township's right of way, are we allowed to force that? Normally a developer would have to, I guess, so from just a standpoint of my ignorance here, that's the standard practice, is making the person pay for that?
Yes,
For
if it was a developer that was going to extend the road, yes, it would have to.
So they're essentially, even though it's a private owner, they're treated no differently than we would a developer in the sense that they're responsible for meeting the expectations of the township for road.
For giving us the
Compliance.
opportunity to turn around.
So all right, so and I don't know, I know, so you're saying initially his request would be for gravel.
No, that wasn't his request. That was the option that was given by the planning commission.
Okay.
But I'm going to say gravel will just be a maintenance issue for us. If we just put, I'm okay with the asphalt wings. It's a concrete road right now.
So, well, I've got a couple thoughts, but.
Well, go ahead, Josh.
I want to know. I want to hear them.
So my first thought is, can we give up the road? Can we, vacate the right of way, give enough for him to have an access through there to put a driveway in, and give the rest? So he would own the strip, and each property owner on either side would get a little bit more property, and then we're done with the road.
That one, I don't know. That wasn't listed as an option. I don't know what's involved in that.
I know there was a mention that the board maybe previously talked about vacating the right of way.
I saw that in there, but I'm not aware of that.
Me either, but I guess that's my thought of, boy, do we keep this road for one house?
So the road, originally when Heatherstone was planned, they were going to expand. Vassar was going to go, they were hoping to purchase all that property and expand it. So that has never happened. There are no addresses on Vassar. There are no driveways on Vassar. And we currently don't plow it. We don't do anything to it.
And I don't ever want to do anything to it. So my thought, or can we get, I don't know, I guess we can't give things away, but can we, for lack of a better term, give him that entire property and
Sell to him for a buck.
Sell to him for a buck if we have to tear out the concrete road as part of that deal, and then he puts in his driveway.
He's got a driveway. Why would he pull that out?
So let me have the mouse.
Right. I would
He's
say
got a double
he's
wide
got a-
driveway. I
Yeah,
think he'd
he's got a
utilize
double
that.
width concrete drive.
That's a sweet driveway. Who would get rid of
I
that?
mean, that's my thought, that maybe we do some curb work on Mountainside to make it, I don't know, to
So,
make it appear not to be a public roadway.
So let me pipe in, because I said, go, no, it's him. Go figure.
Yeah, but on the side.
Go figure.
Right
Shocking.
next to that mask.
All right, so, I said, I've spoken with this resident when I saw it. I heard he bought the property, and so, anyhow, what he wants to do for now is to put a house back here with a barn. So he wants to back here, and then he wants to run a driveway somehow back to that area. Eventually, what he plans to do, and this is a wish that he has down the road, he wants to pass this off to his children, and then develop this property. So as it was planned originally with Heatherstone, they want to eventually develop this area for part of the development and extend it through. So I think if you ask him, is he going to want to vacate that? I haven't.
Oh, so he don't want to do like a lot split, you think?
I think at some point he wants to become a developer, or he wants his children to become a developer and to develop that property.
I mean, at that point, they could approach us and ask us to make that a road again if they end up developing and putting a road in.
I know, but Josh is speaking about ripping it out.
Well, I would rip it out. I don't think the guy would rip it out. He'd be crazy to rip it out. Why? It's a perfectly good driveway. So nice driveway too. I would think he would leave it. We just vacated it. I think Josh is more worried about, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, the top, so people aren't turning on it thinking it's a street.
Yeah, so I mean, so one thing, if we were to vacate the property and sell it for $1, whatever it may be, for him to use as a driveway, that we might want to consider doing something where it hits Mountainside, just so that it's clear that it's not a public roadway, that it's a driveway, whether it's maybe replacing a flag
Well,
or two
if we
with curb
take out the ID sign and we take down the stop sign, it's going to look a lot like what you have on Nelmar.
That's true.
Oh yeah, like on Tibor's old house.
Lacatus owned
Yeah.
that property, and there's the turnout from the road. It just turns into his driveway.
I mean, that's my thought, that we,
Private drive sign up there.
is there a downside to that for the township? I don't know. I would rather.
Sounds like it's only upside as far as I would be concerned.
It's a concrete road that.
I know in order to vacate it, we have to petition the commissioners, and they have to approve that. We've done that with a couple of roads in the past.
Even if we sell that?
We didn't sell them in the past. We just vacated them, and it turned it over to the property owners.
Yeah, it's our road right away.
Whatever the mechanism is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is there a downside to turning it over to somebody? Because in my mind, the upside is we don't have to plow it, and we don't have to replace it but it's already an old road, right? We don't have to replace it.
Well, my question is, can he deny wanting the property?
Sure, you can.
Probably. Yeah.
He's got to sign a contract taking it, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, because he could say, I don't want a driveway that long. They have to maintain.
It's true too.
All right, so an option is the vacating of it,
Vacating or having him put.
or selling it to him and then he buys it. But then the next point, if you go back to what you had before, if you go back to where we were before with this here,
I think it's got to be a concrete.
Okay.
I think it's got to be concrete, curbed. I mean, we don't want to end up with, look at what we had at
Foxfire.
Foxfire.
Yeah.
Dorothea.
Right.
Bridge.
Yeah.
And
might
we
be
don't
our
want,
neighborhood.
again, probably wouldn't want the drainage, because what we run into last year with the road project, we don't want the drainage to slope off the end of the cul-de-sac, because we know at some point that's going to stop working. Then we're going to have to get involved, put in catch basins and all that
Storm
stuff.
sewer, yeah.
So it'd have to be,
Okay.
my thoughts, it'd have to be done correctly.
Well, we can have more discussion with him and see.
And I would think
If he's
why,
got-
and no disrespect or whatever to him, but why make special accommodations that's going to cost extra work for our plow trucks? If a developer came in, we'd say, no, you have to put this cul-de-sac so our plow trucks can make the swoop. I don't think that we should create a scenario where those guys are down there playing, the backup go game, like Austin Powers, you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
forever, and because that's the reality of it. It is forever, right? I mean, you make
Right.
this decision now, and
Yeah.
somebody else is out there plowing it 20 years, 50 years.
Concrete just made that whole cul-de-sac,
Guys, can I point something out? This
Sure.
is Rich.
No figure. Go
Hey,
ahead,
guys.
Rick. Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. So listen, I believe we've got to check with Dave Radaschi. I believe if we petition the commissioners to vacate the road, if they go along with it, they will split that road right of way between the two property owners adjacent to it. That's usually how that's done. That would be the two properties on Vassar. Then Mr. Roebuck would have to negotiate with those two property owners and buy an easement to get back out to Mountainside Drive.
so go back to that picture with the red
Or maybe-
cul-de-sac.
Or I wonder if that could be. I mean, if that's the case, you could, I would think, negotiate that up front. That
Yeah, you would
This
make
is-
that part of the,
hey, we want to approach those adjoining property owners. Here's the intent.
or have the commissioners give it to him instead of splitting it to the two sides.
I don't know that you can. I think it might go to the adjoining property owners, like Rich said, by law. I don't know that you have a choice of where it
So
goes.
the other option is like cut it off at, let's say where that sign is in the middle of the road. Cut it off there and then have him tear that up and just make it all asphalt. Would that solve the problem?
Make it asphalt because that would then be his driveway.
No, make
Oh,
asphalt and then make it
Okay.
from there above,
Well, the issue with making it a standard cul-de-sac is it's going to go with outside of the right of way and into HOA property, which was he'll have to buy the property and then they will have to grant him an easement to always be able to have.
couldn't he take that further into his property and make it somewhere for you guys to go?
That was one of the options. That might have been option one, where he could put it into his property and make it a,
I mean, quite
a
frankly,
hammerhead.
I think that would be
there, was that
at
it?
the hammerhead.
Right there.
The hammerhead. But you said that's still gonna require.
So why does
backing
that-
up and- Right? That's still gonna require backing up and turning around, you said, right?
Well, if we do it that way, then we're actually going onto his property to turn around. We're no longer on the road or on the road right of way.
So
We're discussing this. We don't have to decide today. We can find out from Dave Radaschi about vacating it and what steps. That might be the best.
Ideally, vacate it. Figure out how to make it all work. So you vacate it, it goes to whoever it goes to. He gets the easement. So it's one process. Everybody's in agreement with it. You vacate it, maybe the adjoining.
but his
property-
ultimate plan though is to develop that property. So if you vacate that, you now
He's
take
not
away
wanting
what he's going to want, because ultimately he wants to develop that entire parcel like a developer. I mean, that's the plan. So if you do that, that plan is gone, and that was one of the reasons he bought that property. Now,
Can we sign, either of the attorneys, can you sign an agreement with somebody that until the property's developed, you will maintain and blah, blah, that road, or can you not do that because it's a public road?
I do not know off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I would say that's something we have to research, because then you're
Okay.
talking about,
yeah, because the other option is that you don't do any of this, and he has to maintain the
Or an
road.
agreement that he maintains.
Yeah, so look at that, Jeremy, if you would.
Yeah.
Jake's sitting right here to my left, but yeah.
yeah, we should be able to research that before next meeting.
That's what we're talking about, vacating it.
Oh, so you have to vacate for it to be a private road?
Yeah, because you give up ownership.
Well, I'm not saying vacate, it still stays a
No,
township
no,
road.
we're saying the other option was vacate, which would make it a private road, but then he'd have to negotiate. What they're saying is the county, when you vacate, normally splits its sides, so they would have to somehow figure out how to make that, him maintain the use of that without buying an easement for the private road from the adjacent property owners. So by vacating it to create that private road, So that's essentially what I'm asking, is to make it a private road by contract with it maintaining its status without it being vacated. So it's an open-ended, once it's developed, it has an end date, when that would stop, and that would become.
Then you open up a can of worms about
Can we
having.
give him the easement before we vacate it?
Can you give him the easement before you
We
vacate?
give him, well, since right now, he gets an easement on this, so he doesn't have to negotiate an easement.
Can we negotiate an easement with him?
Can we?
Yeah, that's enough.
It's already
Give it an easement
On property we
On
don't
a
own?
public road?
on a public road and then vacate it and have the easement.
If we just don't have to plow it, I'm okay with that, because we don't plow it now.
Well, that's what I was
So if he
getting at.
wants to take over plowing it in the winter, then nothing's changed.
Then the other option becomes that he has to, from what you're stating, and I understand it, you want concrete in that 60-foot cul-de-sac, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I get that. On the flip side, as a property owner, I'm not a developer, I'm thinking that's gonna be expensive as all get out. But then if I were to say, okay, I'm the property owner, I'll maintain, because I already got I imagine that driveway, if you look at that property, is gonna be hundreds of feet long. You might as well just take a tractor and keep right on going.
Right.
Right,
And then he can go-
nothing's changed.
And then
for
nothing
us.
changed, and he's happy, and the township, nothing
And
changes.
that was it. Can we write an agreement where we have a legal document that until the time that property is developed with other homes, he's responsible for the plowing of
All
that
right, so
road?
so Jason, you guys have some work on,
Yeah, so just real quick, so it sounds like what you're really looking for is just some mechanism to make it where he is still the one responsible for the maintenance of that road, so he would not necessarily have to pave it.
I would say not the maintenance, but the plowing of it.
Yes.
Not to repair the road, not to rip out the
Not the
concrete.
maintenance of the physical road, but the plowing it.
Just essentially, can we have an agreement where he's responsible to plow that road?
Correct.
And that way, he doesn't have to do a turnaround. There's nothing, the township doesn't have to plow.
Well, because if you do a turnaround or a cul-de-sac, then you're gonna have to get into engineering with runoffs, the stormwater, all that stuff's all gonna have to be involved. This is gonna be a big project. And sounds like the simplest solution, to leave it as is, let him use it, tie into it. We don't have to mess with it. We don't have to do engineering. He just makes sure he plows it when he plows his 300-foot driveway.
I would think Dave Radaschi would have thought about that. Was that, he didn't,
I
It's
don't
not-
know if there's liability involved, just because it still is our road. And if he chooses not to plow it, salt it, and somebody turns down it because it's still a public road until it becomes private at his,
Are we allowed to
Property.
say that
Road closed?
a road closed and no through traffic? So then anybody that goes on it then is not breaking the law?
in the past, we did put up a sign that said no road.
Okay.
That,
That
Sunnywood?
was Sunnywood, yes.
So we'd have to basically make sure that even though it's our road, we're not responsible for plowing it, and we're not liable for any damages that might occur because of not having the road plowed would be his fault, not our fault.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
essentially
if- I
want
mean,
some
if there
hold
gets-
harmless type of agreement.
yeah,
there's
so
a
Jeremy,
whole
look into
road-
that, and then let's discuss it next meeting or between meetings. You could send out some communications, whatever you guys
Okay.
find.
And I gotta think that is
Excuse me
probably
for
the
a
best, I mean, there's really no cost for the
Right, to
property
do that,
owner to
right.
do that. Whereas building that cul-de-sac out of concrete with curbs or whatever drainage is needed, there's a cost to design it and build it. And then later, if he does decide to develop that property, he's gonna then rip out that cul-de-sac, I
And
would
like-
think.
Yes.
And like you said, he's
Extend
putting in
the
a
road.
huge driveway, so he's gonna be plowing with some sort of machine anyway, so
Yes.
what's the difference? How long is that? 400 meters? Quarter mile maybe? Tops? Not even, right? That's probably not even a quarter mile.
That
No.
road there?
No, that's a tenth of a mile, isn't it?
Tenth of a mile, so what's like 100 meters probably, big deal.
Meters, dude, come on. Welcome to the United States.
Well, I know, but 100, 300 feet,
Meters.
300 feet of road, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then in that case, then it leaves him available to develop it and extend it later. I guess we still have to maintain
So-
pothole patch.
So our next step, Jeremy and Jason can give us their opinion. Dave Radacci can give us his opinion.
Yeah, and then I guess floated by the
Yeah.
property owner. I guess who's communicating with the property owner? Is it Dave? Is it us?
I
You
have been, Dave has been, I think Rich has some, and it sounds like Chuck has.
Okay.
Sounds like there's a lot of.
A lot of hands in the pot.
Yeah, hands and cookie
Yep.
jar here.
But again,
Yes,
but
right.
the ultimate goal is, so we don't have to
Perfect
continue to
recipe.
plow it.
Perfect recipe for club.
minimizing his costs right now, right? Minimizing this
Yeah.
guy's cost as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, is there a way that we can put it out there so that we can prohibit anybody else from going on it? So it acts as his private drive, but it maintains.
I mean, all we can do is put a road, up, no trespassing, no road, no
So,
trespassing.
what about, do kids play basketball down there?
They do now, I think, yes.
So,
Oh, is that a basketball hoop that's in
Yeah,
the
that was,
picture?
that was
Oh.
a basketball hoop, yeah.
so I guess that'd be my only thought too. If we say no road, I don't want to get into issues.
I get the feeling that he's gonna be a good neighbor, and he
Okay.
probably has already talked to those people about
Okay.
what his plans are.
All right.
Just put it in the side yard.
Okay, we're ready to move on?
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've never said his name. You just said this resident.
So Brent Roebuck, he's with the old timers. He was,
Okay.
he worked at Lubrizol, but
With the
I
old
was a
timers.
firefighter years ago. So the
Oh.
old timer firefighters breakfast, he's the one who organized.
No,
I saw the name, but you said somebody has bought it, so I was making the assumption that they weren't done yet.
Yeah, he lives in Featherstone right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
He lives at the corner of,
Garwood, Fanwood.
there you go.
Yeah. Okay, next on my list. There's a dead tree at 125 Kenilworth. It's a big tree and it's as dead can be. And one of the neighbors is concerned that when it falls, it's going to take down the utility lines and utility poles and block the road and be a big mess. It is not within the right of way. So I asked Jeremy and Jason for some guidance on this. And the suggestion is, obviously, we reach out to the property owner and ask him to remove the tree. But we could also have an arborist go out there and say, yes, it's dead. And yes, there's a good chance it's going to fall. And if it falls, it's going to do damage to the utility lines.
Which tree is it?
Not our utility lines though, right?
No.
I mean, so my thought is
I know, I'm here. I'm which tree?
it's not in the right of way. We don't touch it.
Oh, is this one behind? This one, right?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes, that is it.
Is that an issue?
This tree right here.
It's like that over the township.
Yeah. I mean, it's not near the road right away.
So all of the bark is falling off of it. I don't know how old that picture is. I'm surprised there are any leaves on it, but,
May 2019.
okay.
My thought is we're not a charity tree
That
service.
doesn't look dead.
It's,
Oh, if you went and looked at it today, you would, but
There's no leaves
again,
on it.
it's on private property.
Yeah.
We've got one person that's very concerned about it. So,
and it's not the property owner of whose property it's on.
no.
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 This tree right here.
That looks, I mean, I'm not doubting because you were there, but in the summer of last year, it looked pretty alive.
Okay.
I'm just saying, you
Yeah.
saw how many leaves are on it,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. So this person that's concerned has contacted Harley about it, has contacted me, has contacted Karen, and is pretty concerned about it, but it's out of the road right away.
Way out of the road, right?
Yes.
Would, who's the tree service over by Dollar General? Reynolds. Would they,
They have an arborist,
since
but
we,
it's just a matter of, are we going to get involved in it?
So we
or
had
not?
an issue like this.
I don't
We had an
wanna
issue like
get
this at the corner
involved.
of Bristol, or is it Dart, went over there off of Hale Road when I first got elected. Within the first year, or the right into the second year, there was a similar instance where there was a tree, next one over. And they were complaining, they're concerned about it. And then eventually the township came back and we said, we had no jurisdiction, nothing we could do on it.
So we did the one on Nomar too.
Yeah, I mean,
Overlook.
this
Oh,
happens.
Nelmar, we did the one on Overlook that,
So
We
I
cut-
understand a concern, but this could happen and it does happen all over the township. And when you start getting into these particular instances, especially I'm looking at this tree and this looks like an early spring picture. And the leaves are just starting to come on. So
That's a very,
It's May 2019, so it's getting into the good blooming season.
so on Overlook,
Yeah.
we cut down a tree and the property owner agreed to have it put on their taxes. So we ended up not paying for it.
Oh, there you go. That's an option.
We did? I don't remember that.
Yeah, the right at Overlook in Arlington.
We have done that.
It was a property that might have been owned by a former employee, and his son lived there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or was it
Yeah.
the garage? Or
Yes.
did the garage get torn down? We put that on. I could be wrong. It might have been the garage. Anyway,
Yeah, that was a thing.
it's out of the right of way. Not our deal. I don't know if Reynolds would send somebody over to look at it as a courtesy that we could then provide that information to
Well,
the
if
property
Reynolds,
owner or
if
the
Reynolds
complainant.
looks at it and says it's dead, now,
Still not our tree.
okay, well,
I mean, I don't. Maybe we don't even
shouldn't
want to
even
get into that.
I wouldn't even get into
Okay.
it. If they
Yeah.
want to have somebody come
Okay,
out and
that's
do
fine.
it,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I'm good.
that's what I would do.
When
Not
I
within
hear
the right
from
of way, not
the
ours.
resident again, I'll just say there's nothing we can do. Okay. You will be signing a change order request today from our asphalt paving project this year. It's going to result in a lesser amount of the contract. When they remove the items that were non-performed and then they add the items that went a little bit above and beyond what was called for, it ended up being less money. I don't know exactly how much because this was a joint project between Perry Village and Concord Township and us. So every community is going to save a little bit. So that's what that change order is. It's going to save us some money. The OPWC round 34, which is the project going to happen next year. We've already been approved the money for that, bridle path and some roads in Heatherstone. When the project is put out for bid, it's going to be about $125,000 over what the original engineer's estimate was. When that application was submitted, it was 2 years ago because we're that far behind in the project. So in that amount of time, the cost of materials has gone up and all of the base repair issues that we had with Trotter and Morgan and Bridle Path last year are going to be built into this bid so that we don't have those cost overruns.
So it's a combination of, I'll say even three things, right? We're adding extra base repair work from the project we had this year that we know there's gonna be an issue.
Yes.
Unit prices have gone up more than anticipated. And I think the third thing is I pushed Ted on this estimate before to not put it too high because we have seen so many high estimates and we leave OPWC matching money on the table. So I kind of try to push him to keep that number low. So we'll see where it comes in overall.
And then also, we have decided that we're not going to put in the contract to adjust manholes to grade. We're going to replace the catch basins in the concrete roads. Because every time we say we're just going to adjust them, they get into them and they say, this is so bad, it needs to be replaced. So in the Heatherstone subdivision is 40 years old. We do work there. We're just going to replace the catch basins. And we made that decision after this engineer's estimate. So
who does that? Us or are you contracting that out?
Contracted out.
Okay.
Yes.
No catch bases.
yeah. So anyway, when it goes, it's going to be a little bit higher, but the bids may can't come in good. We don't know that, but just so there are no surprises.
And then once bids do come in, I think there is some work on Smith
Yes, that we do not have to perform.
that are like
if-
slab repairs that if the numbers come in way too high and we need to back it down, we can non-perform it to get it back into where we're comfortable.
Okay, and then when we had the curbside leaf collection, we had 3 garbage trucks from Majors. Everything went well with that. We were done by 11. Combination of it had snowed the prior week, so there wasn't a lot of yard work being done, and so many leaves were out the first pickup. But the kids work better. It's better to have all those kids out there with all those extra trucks and trailers. The garbage trucks are fine, but you can't cover as much ground in as much time. So assuming that we're able to use the kids in the future, I'm going to recommend that we keep doing that. But if we can't, then the garbage trucks are our option. Okay, any questions?
And you said that even if we had 3 trucks, the previous collection,
We still wouldn't have.
we
still
wouldn't have
gotten
done. So,
No.
I mean, if we ever got into a bind again, we couldn't use the kids, we had to use trucks. No, I mean, even if we use 3, we still might be back out on Monday.
So these parents need to know their kids are awesome workers, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
We value them.
Okay, that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. All right, so I'm going to go to zoning next. We've already spoke about the Riverwood Village. Let's move on to, well, Harley, you want to go next? What do you want to talk about? The zoning cases or both or Hawthorne? Okay. All right, so let's go to the zoning cases next, and that's next on the agenda. Rich, you're up, buddy.
Okay, guys, last night the zoning commission did in fact decide to send 3 zoning cases to you today with a recommendation for approval with modifications. The modifications, well, let me just tell you, 20ZC06 affects sections 25 and 5. That's light industrial and our definitions. Basically, it's making a place a zoning district for contractors. Could be paving contractors, tree contractors, general contractors, plumbing contractors, excavation contractors, landscaping contractors, in the light industrial zoning district. And it's putting some clamps on, like landscapers who have 5 employees and they run their business out of their residential property. The next case has to do with basically our fence heights. It influences our section 6 general requirements for fences and our definition section. That case will, the reason for this is to give some relief to property owners on corner lots. And the big thing is Harley came up with a line of sight safety triangle that we can apply to corner lots when determining where the fence can be in the front yard. And we already have a restriction that the fence can't be more than 3 feet high, but it also can't be installed in the line of sight safety triangle. Anything greater than 3 feet. And the last amendment affects quite a few sections: light industrial, conditional use, our table of uses in our B zoning districts, and our definitions. What we're basically doing is making a place for used car dealerships in a light industrial zoning district. We are permitting automotive services, which is light duty, like tires, batteries, replacement of tires, batteries, instant oil changes. We're permitting those in the B3 zoning district, and automotive repairs, which could be replacing like drive lines, transmissions, rear ends, and engines, or working on engines and replacing major engine components like water pumps and hoses, belts, alternators. That would be automotive repair, and that'll become a conditional use in the B zoning districts. And as far as heavy truck and equipment sales, leasing, rental, and repair services, that will go to the light industrial, which also makes it heavy industrial use. So these 3 zoning cases are coming to you with the recommendation for approval as modified. We're going to need a motion today to set a public hearing for each of these 3 cases. Now, I think next was the 206 Hawthorne. I can give you a quick report on that. The tenants are all at home for the holidays. They plan on moving back somewhere between the middle and the end of January. They're all baseball players. The Board of Zoning Appeals did grant the variance on a temporary basis until May 31st. And they set conditions on that variance, violation of which could lead to revoking the variance on a more immediate basis or before May 31st. And those conditions are, there must be strict adherence to the parking resolution, strict adherence to the noise resolution, strict adherence to the zoning resolution, and no outdoor partying after 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. So that's pretty much what I have.
So, question on that. So, is it, if they happen to violate one of those, it's an immediate done, right?
It says is possible. It does not say will be revoked. It says is possible.
Okay.
So
I guess if something, whose decision is that? I mean, if something is violated, can that come right to us for a decision?
That goes before the Board of Zoning Appeals to
It does.
revoke the conditional use permit. So when, if a violation of the condition takes place, we will be notified of it. We will then bring it before the Board of Zoning Appeals for them to hear and make their decision about whether or not they're revoking the, use variance.
My fear with that is something happens in February. By the time it goes to a hearing, it gets revoked, it is end of the year. So they can almost do,
You can write it out.
they can write it out.
So Jason, Jeremy, yeah, I heard this got approved and wasn't pleased, don't understand it, but that's the independent board's position to make. So if something were to happen, as Josh just alluded to, they could write it out because there's a 1 month turnaround before. So if they do it, then they have to schedule the meeting, get it on the agenda, and then they have their meeting. And if they miss getting it on the agenda, now you're talking the next month. So from a township standpoint, what position would we have, of any, to influence a quicker meeting? I don't think we can call a special meeting for them, can we? Or do they have to call their own?
They can call their own special meeting.
we could ask
So
them
if
to
they
do
got
something.
notice of it, they could, I haven't seen their rules, but I'm assuming it's 24-hour notice, like normal special meetings. I mean, they
So
could
if
have
there
a
was an
meeting
issue, they
that week.
could call a meeting, special meeting, to address a specific issue.
Correct.
Yeah, and I do not believe that we have to advertise this as a public hearing. It's not for the issuance of any new permit. This is strictly business and following up on the conditions that the Board of Zoning Appeals already placed on a permit.
Yeah, but I think he meant that they still have to meet, and by sunshine laws, they're deciding board, so they would have to notify public notice for a meeting. No?
Oh, so I mean, there is some authority that when a body meets in a quasi judicial form, that's not subject to Ohio Open Meetings Act. I would tend to decide on the conservative side of that and say, give the notice, hold your
24
special
hours.
meeting, have it open, just so there's no potential issues whatsoever.
And I think the thing that we could do is number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 really becomes part of number 3. All of those, we have the ability to, if they're violated, to cite them for the violation of those zoning statutes, correct, or resolutions. So there's a teeth for us. So if they might not act, I'm looking at Rich's
Paragraph here?
report, number.
Oh, I see, number 1. I thought you were going,
So
okay.
number, look at number 2, number 3, number 4 are all within our purview to cite for if they violate those. And really, number 5, no outdoor parties past 10 would fall under the noise.
That doesn't seem legal, because the noise ordinance or the noise resolution states 11. So how can they put a 10 o'clock? Can they do that? I guess they can, because they did it and you guys were there.
Does the property owner have to agree to these? Right.
If they want.
If they want the
to-
variance,
If
right?
they want the variance, it's the same thing with conditional use permit. They can place any conditions whatsoever on
There you go.
that application and whether or
So they've
not
got a different
the-
set of rules they have to follow. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so 2, 3, and 4 are within our purview to be able to cite them for violating those. So I guess immediate action would be as soon as we hear that there's a parking, a noise, or a zoning resolution that was violation that was committed, we could cite immediately for that to,
What do you mean by cite?
well, we can file in court against them. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then immediately notify the zoning board of, the Board of Zoning Appeals to schedule a meeting to consider, because they said it may be removed.
Is possible. It says
It's
is
possible. So for them, so immediately request that they schedule a meeting as soon as notifications require, and then to consider this case for that purpose.
They should have added the or he shall be revoked.
Does the, should and shall? Yeah.
Should,
Does-
shall, could. Yeah.
Does the property owner, property manager, and tenants, whoever, whatever, are they aware that, obviously they're aware these restrictions apply, but can we make it clear that there isn't a do-over? I mean, you can't come back before the board and say, can we have another try at this? We know we violated this particular one, and if they come in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals, well, can we have one more shot at it? I just want to, they know these are the restrictions.
I really wish they would have made that if a violation, it will be revoked versus is possible. I hate the,
All right. So going forward, then that's the direction, and then the trustees can take immediate action as well, as having another letter sent or even making a personal appearance this time. Either way. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
I will say one last thing on that property. It is managed by a property manager. She was present during the hearing. And I got the impression from her that might be the contact person if there's issues at that property and getting something done quicker. Because a lot of the stuff that came up during that hearing, it seemed to me that was the first time she was ever hearing of it. And they have stuff in their lease about how they need to abide and be good neighbors. And so just another angle of something to pursue if there are any issues.
Harley,
with
do you
that.
have that contact information?
I do not.
All right. Can you make sure you get it, Rich?
Yes.
If you guys can have that information ready for Mike also. So
Wait.
when something happens, assuming something were to happen, immediate redress can occur, and then
Yeah.
she's brought into the loop.
We've got it.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. Anything else on zoning?
I would just like to add, which isn't actually zoning related, but Karen was making calls yesterday regarding the old weathered banners that we won't be rehanging and will need replaced if the resident so chooses. And by happenstance, I suppose she said that she wasn't looking forward to making a specific phone call and said that it was a banner that was new but was destroyed in the windstorm. And I had recalled there was a conversation had at one of our previous trustee meetings that an act of God, you guys would replace them. And I'm not sure if that was the banners or if it was the brackets, but before she made the phone call, I just wanted to ask.
I don't have a problem with that. It's only 1 year, for God's sakes. It should hold up, but
Well, I thought we wouldn't charge them the full price. They would just pay for the new banner.
just pay, so we charge X amount up front, but a replacement banner is $72 or whatever, right?
75.
75, we just charge them that price versus the full 150 or 140.
That would be for anybody that wants a read. This particular one that bad windstorm we had on Sunday,
No, I know, but we charge initial years, what, 140, Mike, 150?
140.
So instead of charging them that, we would just charge them what if were these replacement costs of 75 or whatever.
Because I would say the first time one was damaged, I think the person ended up paying the full 140.
Yeah.
And then we've said,
From then on out, we'll
then
just
on out,
charge.
it's just it is just the fee to buy the new banner.
I just wanted to clarify.
Because if we get into that, then we're,
Again,
that's the
act
problem.
of God, car accident, I mean, anything.
I
Feel
think the
bad.
brackets were it because we built in a cost to upfront essentially in the following years to make sure we had enough to replace brackets if needed. So we didn't charge them for that. But I think that the banner is unfortunately going to be on them.
Okay.
Unless it's something we did,
You know, we spoke about in the past also, yeah, I'll get with that at another point. Put that on hold. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman, that is it.
Richard, do you have anything else?
No, I think that does it.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. We'll save the best for last. Chief?
I changed my mind.
Uh-oh.
I apologize. I knew I was missing something. So there is a developer that's interested in developing property by the Mentor border on the corner of Mentor Avenue
Waterfront
and
property?
Waterford.
Yes.
Waterford.
Yes, car wash.
And it would be a car wash, which is not a permitted use in that district. In order for that use to move in, the developer would have to either apply for rezoning, which really wouldn't be the most appropriate method to resolve that issue. If the trustees decide that it's appropriate in that area of Mentor Avenue, we could do the rezoning of the strip, which would solve our other issue further down Mentor Avenue in that B1 district. We could change it to B2, B3, or we could change our zoning resolution to include car washes as a conditionally permitted use in B1.
I spoke to the gentleman and I told him that before it's anything we would even look at, consider, discuss, we would need to see full renderings of what it would look like, a proposed site, what it would, what the building would look like, the exterior, the signage, et cetera. I said, he's like, well, we're working on a pamphlet to do that. I said, just so you know, talking about it conceptually is moot until we see what you even want to put there. I said, until you can present that, I told him straight up, I said, we're really not going to give it any discussion or any time until we can see what you actually want us to look at. The concept of it, I said, conceptually out of the gate, I would say no to you. But I said, if you want to bring to us, I said, personally, I would say no. I said, but if you want to present exactly what you're doing so we can really have a discussion about it, we can address it at that time. I said, until then, I said, I'm not quite sure you'd get very far, is what I told him.
Did anybody, I mean, you talked to him, Harley?
Yes.
You talked to him?
Yes.
They present a concept, is this like a drive-through car wash, a pull-in straight off yourself?
I haven't received a concept
That's what I'm saying.
yet
We
from
don't
them.
know what the concept is at all.
He says it'll be nice, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and another potential issue is even if the trustees really like what this guy's presenting, the most appropriate thing to do would be to create something that we can hang our hat on that says, okay, car washes are either permitted in B1 or this is zone B2. And to do that, you guys will get the opportunity to look at this one car wash, but any car washes down the line, you guys wouldn't have that same opportunity.
And the real problem I have, to be honest with you, is A, that's really our first commercial coming in on the avenue. B, if you go down about a half a mile down the road, we all know, while they're great people and have a great business, the absolute nightmare that place is down the street on a busy day. And the last thing I think we need is, you already have target traffic, which is crazy busy, to add that on Mentor Avenue, I just think would be asking for trouble.
So there's that car wash, there's the Outback car wash, and Giant Eagle car wash.
Right.
There.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I don't know.
Well, just one little comment. At 1650 Mentor Avenue, there's a heck of a building that for 23 years was a car wash operated by the Ramus Corporation. That's the site of the Cleveland Motor Cars.
So there's that for consideration.
Is there still talk of a gas station?
We haven't received anything back from them
They're doing their
yet.
geotechnical.
I'm curious if they're proposing gas station car wash combo.
I don't believe so. I believe it's going to be, from what I've seen, it's a concept similar to what they have like down in Florida. It's sort of like Sheetz, but nicer. So the gas station with a full building with like, you go in and you order food, like one of those.
Sheetz has car washes.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know they had them back there.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
From what I understand, they don't want to do that. from my understanding, it's a gas station with a full mini, essentially a mini Meijer inside the place.
It's like a C store.
Yeah, so it's like a step up from what Get-Go has, I believe. More stuff inside, you know?
Yeah, we also have someone who I've been speaking with, who's interested in purchasing that property where the pawn shop is, those two buildings side by side. They want to tear down both of those buildings and build new. And the use, judging by the use that they're proposing, I could assume on which companies it might be, but it's a coffee shop with a drive-through. So.
Wow.
But we'll see. Well, I just gave them a huge list of what they'll have to go through, site plan review requirements, all of the applications and forms, and they're going to get back to their client to discuss the time frame and everything.
Well,
and
it is at an
purchasing.
intersection, the one we discussed, right, Mike? We met with them.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if it's somebody she's thinking of. We met with, well, we met, yeah, Canadian company we met with that, they wanted a,
The Dunkin' Donuts?
no, remember Tim Hortons? We met with
Tim
them,
Hortons,
but they said
yeah.
they require it at an intersection. So that's an intersection. At that time,
They
that
didn't
property
tell me
wasn't
that.
available, so that's a possibility.
Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to mix up Dunkin' Donuts.
They were interested in our area. And we called a meeting with them because they had something in the paper that they were looking for Northeast Ohio locations. And we met with them and offered them, we were trying to get them to go in that Waterford site, but they said that they require an intersection. So that's
Yeah, I mean, so those buildings are not being used. I don't know whether the use form, if they're, boy.
well,
they went-
Skelly's is still in there,
Oh, really?
but they're operating as, they lost their pawn license. So they're just a buy here, like buy, sell, trade
Boy,
type.
if they
of
wanted
thing.
to upgrade those buildings, new site, I mean, I guess we always try to be business friendly, so whatever we can do to help the process
And
along.
especially, yeah, especially something that like that, a national company that's,
All right, we need to get moving here.
That is all.
we're done.
Oh, no, we're not done. We haven't gone to fire yet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he called you, but you sat back down.
Okay, just, we've been tracking the number of COVID staff that are out around the county. Every department's had one or two guys at almost any given time, and then I think we've had up to like 8 guys in one department out at. So what we started doing countywide is just a Google form that we all fill out on Monday, so we get a snapshot for the week to see where all the other departments are. We have all of our mutual aid in place and things like that to be able to handle if we have to if stations need to be shut down, things like that. But just to let you guys, I mean, we are monitoring it across the county. So we've been lucky here. We've had a few guys, but it's been sporadic and they not all at once. It's one out at a time.
Hey, Chief, and I know you spoke about this prior, let me interrupt you. When there's a COVID case, what's the protocol? It used to be, we were concerned about losing a whole building
Right.
with personnel. How is that handled now?
Well, now they can still come to work. They should isolate when they're off duty, but they can come in as an essential worker. They can come in to work. They have to wear a mask the entire time, which is really not a problem because all of our guys wear masks whenever they're in a communal setting anyways. If they're in the same room, they're wearing a mask basically, unless they're eating. And even at that, if they can't be 6 feet apart when they're eating, then they stagger. But we've been doing that.
That's the new trend. Even I know some states are starting to, even the nurses and stuff are going to work with it as long as they wear
Right.
PPE. Yeah.
They have to wear a mask the whole time they're there. Yeah.
Do we supply that PPE?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't like that. Just not the supplying of the PPE, but of a person who has COVID going to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, just as an example, we had a guy this week, a part-timer, say that he, called me and he got tested for COVID and is positive. And so we went back and tracked, it was the day, but 48 hours after his duty date, but you go back 48 hours. So you have to see who he was in contact with for those 48 hours. And we had, luckily we do isolate stations, so that helps, but it would have been 7 guys that he came in contact with while he was working, plus patients, but again, when we meet patients and we do that, our guys are always in PPE, so we can't really get through N95, so we're pretty good with that. But as far as the guys that they were in contact with, if he was talking to the guy for a few minutes without his mask, then the guy was an exposure. So technically, when this all came out, we would have had to isolate 7 guys that he came in contact with, and they would have been out of work for 14 days.
It's not opposed to isolating one guy. I mean, why not just isolate that one guy who tested positive?
Oh, yeah, that guy doesn't come to work.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought you were saying.
Oh, no, that could just everybody he was exposed to.
Okay, I'm okay then.
Okay, yeah, the guy that has it, no, he's off for 14. No, actually, he's off for 10 days now. They did reduce it from 14 to 10. And he can't have any symptoms for 24 hours before he can come back to work. But yeah, as long as he has 10 days off and no symptoms.
And they even changed that because
I misunderstood.
the CDC, I just read it last night. They actually changed that to say that the taste and smell is no longer considered in that 24-hour window because they found that can last for weeks and not.
Right. We've had guys come back to work and they still.
Right.
Then they cough. We've had guys coming back to work that cough for 3 weeks after getting it. It's like the cough can linger for a long time. So we just basically no fever for the 24
Let me interrupt
hours.
you for a second. Sure. Hey, Mike. So across the township, or is that the policy that we're doing across the township? What Chief is explaining, if somebody has the COVID, they're off for a certain period of time, and.
Yes.
Okay, so with all the departments, regardless.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I like how you interrupt and say, I don't mean to interrupt you.
I think I am the chairman. Excuse me.
My stepmom's grandma, she had it back then, and my stepmom told the story that she got that one, and she had a cough. She said for the rest of her life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It can linger. Yeah. So we're anyways just so we are monitoring that situation. Other departments have had it worse than us, but we've been lucky and fortunate that it's hit and miss. But we are we're keeping an eye on it. Now, vaccines. Initially, there was some speculation as to whether first responders were going to be included in the first tier of vaccines. They were, and then when the governor announced who was getting it, they were taken off. And the most recent thing that we just got from the local health department, they are back in. So the first responders will be getting the first tier of the vaccine along with healthcare workers.
If they choose.
If they choose, yes. And I just put a questionnaire out to our guys on Monday. Hopefully within the next couple of days, we'll have everyone will have completed it, and we'll know exactly how many of our guys are going to be getting the vaccine. With other departments that have done the questionnaire, they're running about 60% of the guys saying they'll get it and 40% saying they don't want any part of it. So that's where we'll be. We put it out, and we'll see where we end up. We don't know what the logistics of that's going to be. I mean, we know that the vaccine's coming to this county next week. And we'll be starting getting vaccines, but we don't know if they're going to come to our station, or we're going to go to the health department, or we're going to go to the local hospital. We're really not sure the logistics of that yet.
So I've been reading some on the vaccine, and it's saying that some of those people can likely be contagious for a period of time after they receive that vaccine.
Right.
So what are we going to have some protocol for those?
We're going to stagger the vaccine over 3 days, and the guys will, when they get off of work, because they work 24 and off 48, when they get off of work, they'll get the vaccine when they get off of work. That'll give them 48 hours. Okay. Generally, the symptoms and what you're talking about is within 24 hours of the vaccine. Okay. So that'll give them 48 hours before they come back to work. Right.
That's good.
So that's what we're staggering it that way.
But isn't it a 2-shot? They have to go back for a second round too?
3 months later, they'll go back for a second round. Yeah.
So I heard, there's so many conspiracy theories and stories out there. Depends who you listen to, but came across something and it said the vaccine does not stop you from getting COVID. It eliminates the symptoms or removes the symptoms, lessens the symptoms. Have you heard any factual information on that?
Yeah, in fact, I can send you some stuff that's for that. We had a immunologist talk to some firemen in a different department, but then they shared all that information among all the departments. And yes, it doesn't. It's like the flu vaccine. You can still get it, but you're going to get very mildly, and and it's going to be quick and not near as bad, and not spread it the same way that you do now. So.
But this thing I was listening to said that you still get it.
Mhm.
You still can spread it. It's just that you won't have the symptoms, basically, is how they were phrasing it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about
You know,
that.
I read
Okay.
similar, it just says it'll dramatically lessen the symptoms is one
Okay.
thing. So I think it's on the same page that it'll give them, and that's why I think I read too, they said that 48 hours you could get infected and spread it
Right.
after you get it because they are just sticking the virus in. you,
Right.
but-
So I mean, like I said, I don't know yet exactly how many of our guys are going to be there. Like I said, we've been running in other departments around 60%, so that's what we're thinking. Along those same lines, this won't be in the next couple of weeks, but in the next few months, there's going to be, the vaccine's going to be more available and widely distributed. And they're talking about putting it at CVS's and Rite Aids, and we've got all those contracts in place along with the hospitals will have it, doctors' offices, so it's going to be pretty widespread. So but they are talking about having vaccination clinics, and like H1N1, we did some pretty massive vaccination clinics during that. In fact, Riverside High School was one, and I can't remember the numbers now, but I think we were doing like 2,000 people an hour through that Riverside clinic. It was, we went for like 5 hours. It was pretty incredible. But in order to do that, there was the health department, a lot of volunteer nurses and staff, and the firefighters from the county, different firefighters, were giving vaccines and were support staff and things like that. The Ohio's EMS director has just okayed for firefighters and or paramedics specifically to give vaccination shots. They did it back, like I said, during H1N1, and now they've approved it again. And I'm sure locally that our medical control will approve that too. And the health department has asked for our help in giving those vaccines as far as staff. Last time they did it, they completely reimbursed all of our costs as far as like manpower costs and things like that. So it would be covered by, the cost would be covered by the health department. I guess what I'm asking you for is, do you have any objection to our firefighters assisting the health department in giving vaccines if they do these kind of clinics?
It's totally voluntary. Like firefighters would
Oh,
volunteer to do it.
I would not make anyone do that, no.
They would get paid. They would get paid to do it if
Right.
they wanted to do it.
Yes.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. It's just a little out of the ordinary, so I wanted to make sure.
Mike, follow up from yesterday's conversation I had with you. I received a phone call early in the morning, and then I called you back from the health department asking about using either the storage. Would you hear anything more?
Bert hasn't returned my call. I called him right after we talked, and it's very unusual, but he hasn't called me back to give me the information I need.
All right. So for Josh and Gabe's sake, I received a call from Bert Neckenbauer, and he asked if they could use it. I thought he said the service garage.
Drive
But
through and stick
yeah, whether it's that or the fire department, I don't know how the chief will be using the fire department bay, but either way, the township, I believe, would support that. And that's why I called Mike, asked him to contact him, and obviously hasn't gotten
And
back
based
yet.
on what we just did this weekend, I think the best way would be
Service garage is
right
actually
through
pretty
there,
good right
drive
there.
through, stick them in the arm, and let them go.
Okay. And he did, and it was on my notes, they specifically mentioned in our meeting having drive-through bays in service garages, and they mentioned Painesville Township and Menor as having a facility that could probably do that kind of thing through either the service garage or the fire department. I think either one, we have a facility that we could drive through and get that done.
Yeah, the fire station seems like a good option too.
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay, so whatever, pick it and go with it, support
Okay,
it.
so
Go ahead,
that's
Chief.
okay. And then we sent our first truck to Countryside last week. They fixed the problem, sent it back within a couple days. So it was pretty fortunate, pretty good work with them. Our backup engine, we moved that right in place. So with that engine, basically we have enough equipment now that we can put stuff in place and take stuff out, and we don't have to borrow equipment, and we don't miss anything. Everything's just the way it was the day before when, with a different piece of apparatus.
Chief, you got about 2 minutes here.
Okay. And the lighting, the lettering and striping is done on the CARES Act ambulance that we put in, that they've got that. We bought that as is, so it needed to be striped. And that's it. I mean, that's all I have anyway, so that works. Okay.
So that was the pictures you sent on 2722?
2722. We were running
what-
that CARES Act ambulance front line, and we took the smaller ambulance and using that as our backup ambulance, the one that's going to put in place when things need decon and things like that.
So understanding your numbering logic here,
Mhm.
so there was a 2722 that's now the backup. So what happens to his number?
Can I try to answer that? Right, 27 is the community, right?
27 is the
27 is
community.
Painesville
Everything
Township.
in Painesville Township's 27,
The two, the third number is Station 2,
right?
and then the last number is vehicle type.
And it's a squad is a 2.
So what's the number on the other one?
Well, the other one's 2742. So the last number is the station. Then as we go, station 1, station 2, station 3, and then anything backup would be 4 and 5. It would go from that point on. So the 3 stations and then backup equipment would get lettered like 4 or 5 or 6, depending on how many we had.
Well, good for you, Josh. Like you've been doing your homework there. Very nice. Very impressive.
Yes.
I've asked Chief several times, I think.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory.
Yeah. So that's more for mutual aid purposes. I mean, our guys all know the numbers right off, but if somebody from a mutual aid department in Menor called for a piece of equipment, as soon as we said what that piece of equipment was, 2722, they'd know it was a squad coming out of Station 2, and they'd know it was coming from Painesville Township. So,
All right.
yes.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Chief. If you have anything else, please share it at the meeting, the public meeting. All right. So we're going to close this meeting at 10:59 and get ready to open up the other one here in a moment, Sean. So 1 minute, 11 o'clock, we're going to open up that meeting.